You're bringing a team here. Goodness, look at that.
Chair, meeting is now being recorded.
Okay. I'd like to call a special meeting of July the 15th, 2024 to order. We'll start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask our Commissioner, Ana Laura Padilla, to lead us. Please stand and follow with her.
Place your right hand over your heart and let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Will the Secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Christie? Here. Commissioner Scamilla? Commissioner Hardy?
Present.
Commissioner Jauregui?
Present.
Commissioner Padilla?
Here,
Commissioner Rincon?
Present.
Commissioner Shipp?
Here.
Vice Chair Marashi?
Here.
Chair Rush?
Present.
Chair, quorum has been reached at 4:33.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to remind my fellow commissioners to turn your microphones on when speaking and off when not speaking. And when speaking, please place the microphone about 4 inches away from you. Thank you. Members of the public may attend Historic Resource Commission meetings in person or virtually via Zoom. I now invite the Commission Secretary to describe the manner in which the public can access and participate in this meeting.
This meeting is being live streamed via our portal at www.sana-ana.primegov.com/public/portal and to YouTube at www.youtube.com/City of Santa Ana videos. If you would like to provide public comment, you may do so in the following ways. Join the meeting via Zoom, enter meeting ID number 846-7961-5774. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, select the hand icon to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the name you entered. You can also join the meeting by calling 669-900-6833. Enter meeting ID number 846-7961-5774. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, press 9 to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the last 3 digits of your phone number. After you're called upon, you may press number 6 to unmute yourself. For those who are attending this meeting in person and would like to provide public comment, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. All speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. I will alert you when your time is up.
Moving on to public comments on non-agenda items. Madam Secretary, does anyone wish to speak on non-agenda items?
If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on non-agenda items, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to comment on non-agenda items, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you're calling in and would like to comment on non-agenda items, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay. Moving on to the consent calendar, one motion for all consent items unless an item is pulled for separate discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I'd like to pull E of the consent calendar.
you wish to pull the item A?
E,
Beg your pardon?
E as in egg.
Oh, E as in egg. Item E, historic property for the property of 825 North Lacey. Okay, all right. Madam Secretary, you've noted that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so is there a motion to approve is there a motion to approve the balance of the items?
Chairman,
Yes,
I make the motion, we approve items A through D.
A through D.
I have a question. Is Commissioner is Manny coming? Or is,
He did reply to the email, said he was going to be here.
yeah, you may want to hold that one out and if he's going to be here.
Commissioner Christie, is your microphone on?
Yep,
Okay, can you speak a little bit more into it?
okay.
Thanks.
We'll come back to that one on excused absence, especially since he said he's.
You
going
mean
to be-
regarding the excused absences?
That's correct,
Item B?
right.
Okay, so do I understand that you're pulling that item also?
Yeah,
Okay, so,
Chairman, I amend
you
my
amend your
motion to approve items A, C, and D as stated.
okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Haragi. Madam Secretary, please call for roll call vote.
Commissioner Christie?
yes,
Commissioner Escamilla? Commissioner Hardy?
yes,
Commissioner Jaregui?
Yes.
Commissioner Padilla?
Yes.
Commissioner Rincon?
Yes.
Commissioner Ship?
Yes.
Vice Chair Marashi?
Yes.
Chair Rush?
Yes,
Motion approved by majority vote with Commissioner Escamilla absent.
okay. Okay. All right, that concludes the consent calendar. Moving on to the business calendar section.
Chair,
Yes, Commissioner,
we need to adjust, I pulled E.
yes. Does that mean we would address that first?
Yes.
Madam Secretary?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so Commissioner Christie,
Thank you, Chair Rush. Okay, on Saturday, Commissioner Vice Chair Marashi and I visited the property that's located at 825 North Lacey. And I know that this is coming into, they want to have a Mills Act, and they had the listing of that. They need to include landscaping improvements. Those trees are blocking everything. And you know the viewpoint corridor is that the property has to be viewed from the street, the sides, and so forth. They also have, what do you guys call the archway that in front of the head arbor? Thank you, I couldn't think that. That is extremely overgrown and high. You can't see anything. So I am saying to the city, they have to comply with our regulations on this, on the viewport to include, if we're going to approve this Mills Act, that they have to trim back the trees and that arbor. And then,
does any other commissioners have any comments? I am familiar as well with the parcel, have driven by it. That was one of the move-ons, as they're called in French Park. And I forget the name of the original couple that was the purchaser of that home. It came from East Side neighborhood, now Pacific Park, and was moved into French Park and was cut up into 2 or 3 sections. Anyway, it's a treasure, not just for what it is, but it's, the journey that home has had, not to be too corny, but having come from one historic neighborhood to another. So is there, Ali, one of your staff, have comments about this about this property and about the view corridor issue?
For the record, Commissioner Escamilla joined us at 4:41 PM. If so desired by the commission, the requirement for the landscape maintenance, as pointed out by Commissioner Christie, could be added to the work plan exhibit to the Mills Act, which is part of the packet. So that could be part of the motion to approve the item.
Well, I think that would be necessary. The property is pretty well hidden from the street. I mean, this one is really exceptional in how it's shrouded from the street.
Yeah.
They've done quite a first-class job of obscuring 98% of the view of that home. So, yes, Commissioner
Chair Rush,
Christie.
I move that we approve the Historic Property Preservation Agreement 2024-08 with the property located at 825 North Lacey, with the amendment that they have to cut the trees back and up, and the arbor has to be trimmed in order to improve the view corridor, because it is hidden. And one of the things of a historic property, it cannot be hidden like that.
And it should be noted that it needs to be kept trimmed, not just trimmed one time and then let go berserk. Needs to be kept trimmed. So, do we have a second?
I can second that.
Okay, Manny, did you have a comment?
I actually did. So I'm just wondering, I guess, timing wise, like if we believe that, I guess, staff can get the intent of this motion, or if we actually want to see what the work looks like before approving it. So again, it's more just timing, though I know that would probably delay us for another 3 months, I think, on this particular project if we waited till the next meeting to actually see what the results were. Just again, for discussion for the commission.
Well, I would be okay with again, we're conditioning their approval, so unless staff has a comment,
We would be able to work with the applicant. We understand the intent of the conditions, and we would be able to work with the applicant based on the conditions if approved.
okay. Commissioner, okay. Commissioner Janelle Hardy?
Well, I just wanted to add, I did go by there, and I think it just needs some trimming and cleaning up, that's all, just so you can see the lovely facade and appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a big deal to have, so staff can communicate that adequately. Thank you.
Commissioner Hargy?
Yes, I did walk the property yesterday, and it's lovely. Walking, you can see more than driving by. So regular landscaping, I can understand all the water we had in the spring made everything grow. So just proper landscaping and trimming to lift it up. I agree.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
I just want to maybe put a time frame on that within 60 days of approval,
Okay,
okay?
I think that's fine. We have a motion and a second. The maker of the motion, are you all right with that time frame?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and the second, all right, so.
Yes.
Madam, are there any other comments? Madam Secretary, you want to call roll on that?
Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Jauregui?
Yes,
Commissioner Padilla?
Yes.
Commissioner Rincon?
Yes.
Commissioner Ship?
Yes.
Vice Chair Marashi?
Yes.
Chair Rush?
Yes.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
Okay,
Chair Rush,
yes,
I would like to make the motion that we approve item B on the consent calendar, that now that everybody is present.
all right, well, yes, so
Just make,
item
I'll
B
second the
becomes,
motion.
item B, I think, becomes moot because we don't have any excused
you
absences.
still have to.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. All right,
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
all right, so we have a motion. We have a motion and a second. You want to call roll on that?
So there was a motion by Vice Chair Marashi and the second by Commissioner Padilla.
Okay,
Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Jauregui,
Yes.
Commissioner Padilla,
Yes.
Commissioner Rincon,
Yes.
Commissioner Ship,
Yes.
Vice Chair Marashi,
Yes.
Chair Rush.
Yes.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
Okay, all right, very good. I believe that concludes the consent calendar. Moving on to the business calendar session, I'll now review the process for the public hearing so everyone knows what to expect. Staff will provide a presentation and answer questions from the commission. Public hearing will then be opened. Applicant will be given the opportunity to speak, limited to 15 minutes. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to comment, limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to comments made by the public, limited to 5 minutes. The public hearing will then be closed. Discussion will return to the commission with formal action taken to approve, deny, or continue review of the application. Please consider the following suggestions when organizing your comments. Please state your name and address, state whether you support, oppose, or are neutral to the proposal. Your statement should include all pertinent facts within your knowledge. Please note the formal action of the Historic Resources Commission shall become effective after the 10-day appeal period unless the City Council holds a public hearing on the matter. Then the formal action will become effective on the day following the hearing and decision by the City Council. An appeal from the decision or requirement of the commission must be filed with the clerk of the council and a copy sent to the planning department within 10 days of the date of the commission's action. The appeal may be made by any interested party, individual, or group. First item, this is a time and place for Historic Resources Commission, application number 2023-29, Historic Register categorization number 2024-03, and Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2024-05 for the property located at 2369 North Flower Street, located within the single-family residence R1 zoning district. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? Commissioner Ship? I'm sorry, my goodness. I've got Vice Chair Marashi, sorry.
Commissioner Christie and myself visited the property on Saturday. Although we weren't able to meet with the homeowner, we did take a look at it.
Okay. Any other? Commissioner Hardy?
I did visit the property.
Okay. Commissioner Hargy?
I also did visit the property and walked around the front and the driveway,
All right.
but I did not meet the owners.
Okay. All right. So Pedro Gomez will now provide a brief presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and fellow commissioners. The first item on tonight's agenda is a request to place the property address as 2369 North Flower Street on the Santa Ana Register and to execute a Mills Act agreement with the property owners. The R.S. McGuire House is located in the Floral Park neighborhood, and it's a contributor to the Floral Park National Historic District. It's architecturally significant as an intact example of an Art Moderne style in Santa Ana. The original building permit is dated August 22, 1938, and it indicates it was built as a single-family residence and garage for owner-contractor Allison Honer for about $5,500. Honer appears to be affiliated with the property only during the time of the construction and the initial building permit. City directories note that R.S. McGuire owned the property for at least 23 years from 1939 through 1962. He worked for heating equipment company O'Keefe and Merritt and later was employed at Kaufman's Furniture Appliance Store at 714 West 17th Street in Santa Ana. The R.S. McGuire House qualifies for listing in the Santa Ana Register of Historic Properties under Criterion 1 as an intact example of an Art Moderne style in Santa Ana. The recommended categorization is key because it has distinctive architectural style and quality reflective of the Art Moderne style. The commission may recall that in order for a property to be categorized as key, it must have a distinctive architectural style and quality, be characteristic of a significant period in the history of the city, or be associated with a significant person or event in the city. Here we have additional photos of the R.S. McGuire House. Character-defining features of the R.S. McGuire House include the T-shaped plan, the asymmetrical primary facades at the west and south, the low-pitched hipped and gable roof, minimal roof overhang and exposed rafter tails, smooth stucco siding with minimal texture throughout, stucco-clad chimney with exposed brick near the top, steel frame multi-pane combination fixed and casement corner windows, and those wrap around the building corners. We have building projections that are stepped back from the front west portion of the building. Main entrance is accessible by 2 curved concrete steps with a single solid door, an Art Moderne style metal door knocker that is situated below a curved roof awning. Double hung wood windows, pronounced windowsill trim throughout, and then smooth or curved building corners and a detached garage. The property has no identified unauthorized modifications, and upon consideration of the application, it's recommended that the city enter into a historic property preservation agreement, subject to the completion of future improvements as described in the work plan and presented to the commission here tonight. Future improvements identified in the work plan proposed by the homeowner during the initial 10 years of the Mills Act agreement include repair trim as needed. Staff also proposed the following improvements, which include remove non-compatible gutters, replacement of rear yard side door with period appropriate door, inspect and repair all original wood and steel frame windows, window panes and window trim as needed, and replace main entrance doorknob and exterior light with period appropriate doorknob and light. Staff will ensure that the proposed work will be done sensitively and will maintain the property's character defining features as part of the Mills Act agreement for this property. As such, staff is recommending that the commission adopt a resolution to approve HRCA 2023-09, HRC 2024-03, and recommend that the City Council authorize HPPA 2024-05. That concludes staff's presentation, and I am available for questions at this time.
Thank you, Pedro. Does the commission have any questions or comments of staff?
Chair Rush? I do have one
Commissioner
comment.
Marashi?
I noticed that the house at 1718 North Flower Street is also Art Moderne, and it was put on the historical register as, in 2018, as key. So this would be in line with it. The only difference between the two homes is that that one is mirrored image about the west view. Just a point of comment.
Any other commissioners have questions of staff? Commissioner Hardy?
Thank you, Chair Rush. I'm just curious, there's a lot of decorative elements on the exterior stucco finish. Is that ever like an issue with the Mills Act property? To have too much decoration, dare I say, or something like that? Not wanting to be critical, I'm just curious because it kind of takes away from the very wonderful, stark, graphic, modern style. That's my question to staff.
Thank you, Commissioner. Although it's highly encouraged that not too much ornamentation is included, that would detract from the historic preservation of the homes. They are not permanent in nature. So it's not something that's in line with conditioning as part of this process.
Thank you.
Any other comments from commissioners or questions of staff? Okay. All right. The public hearing is now open. And does the commission have any comments or questions of the applicant? Perhaps, is the applicant here?
Chair, I did not see the applicant physically present, but I don't know if maybe he's or
Are they
she
online?
are online. Paul.
Apparently not.
What's the name of the applicant?
Paul Galindo, and Julie Bidmead.
No, we don't have.
Okay. Okay, well, this makes asking questions of the applicant quite simple. May I ask, recording secretary, have we received any written communication, or is there a member of the public that would like to comment on this item?
We have not received written communication. If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon and unmute yourself. If you're calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Okay, all right. Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion to approve this matter and a second?
Chair Rush,
Commissioner Christie.
I move that we adopt a resolution approving Historic Resource Commission application 2023-29 and Historic Register categorization number 2024-03. And number 2, recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager and clerk of the council to execute the attached Milzac agreement with Paul Galino and Julie Bidmead, subject to non-substantive changes approved by the city manager and city attorney.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Hardy seconds, so we have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, would you call roll?
Commissioner Christie?
Yes.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Jauregui?
Yes.
Commissioner Padilla?
Yes.
Commissioner Rincon?
Yes.
Commissioner Ship?
Yes.
Vice Chair Marashi?
Yes.
Chair Rush?
Yes.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
Okay. Okay, this is the time and place, item 2 on our agenda for historic exterior modification agreement, application number 2024-03 for the property located at 1002 North French Street, located within the specific development SD zone number 19, French Park zoning district. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item?
Yes.
Commissioner Christie?
Commission, myself and Vice Chair Barachi went by the property on Saturday. We did not speak with the applicants, but we did speak with Jeff Dickman with architectural review, and I'm sorry, and Sandy also.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Hardy?
Yes, I did visit the property.
All right. Commissioner Harrigy?
I also did visit the property, did not speak to anyone. I'm sorry.
All right. Anyone else? I as well have visited the property and did actually have a meeting there with the applicant and their architect and Jeff Dickman, as well as Sandy Welch. And that's been several months ago, so I am familiar with the parcel. Okay, so Pedro Gomez will now provide a brief presentation. Pedro?
Thank you again, Chair. The next item for your consideration is a request to permit exterior modifications to a historic structure located at 1002 North French Street, and it's known as the St. Thomas Hamilton House. The subject property is located at the northwest corner of French and 10th Street in the French Park National Register Historic District within the specific Development 19 zoning district. The site is currently developed with a 7-unit multifamily complex on a 9,200 square foot residential lot. The oldest portion of the development is a 1898 colonial revival style residence known historically as the St. Thomas Hamilton House. A two-story addition is located along the west side of the home, designed in a simple mid-century vernacular style with 3 one-car garages on the ground floor. And the St. Thomas Hamilton House is a contributor to the National Register French Park Historic District. However, the property is not individually listed in the local Santa Ana Historic Register of Historical Properties. And then some character-defining features of the single-story portion of the St. Thomas Hamilton House include the hipped roof, enclosed eaves and molding trimmed frieze, the narrow clapboard siding, wide shiplap siding, original exterior doors, the porch posts, the brackets, wood balustrades, spindles, spandrels, and the skirting. As part of the overall scope of work, the applicant proposes to retain and restore 3 existing wood doors, 1 along the south elevation and 2 along the east elevation, to period correct style. As part of the work, the existing metal door screens will be removed. In addition, the applicant proposes to restore the basement vent screens to match existing block fascia as wraparound porch, and to install new exterior sconce lighting in period correct style. As proposed, all exterior repairs will be done using in-kind materials, and exterior siding too deteriorated to repair will be replaced with custom mill siding to match original in-kind. Along the southern and eastern elevation, the work also includes removal of a non-original porch enclosure and restoring it to match the previously existing. The work to the porch would include the following: the wraparound columns and porch elements to be restored, and the elements too deteriorated to be repaired, and using in-kind materials to match existing material, dimension, and detail. The spindles are to be restored, and elements too deteriorated would also be repaired using in-kind materials. Any missing or damaged balustrade spindles to be restored and fabricated using in-kind materials. The new wood balustrade rails to be fabricated using in-kind materials and match existing material, dimension, and details. Repair and restore of the exterior fascia using in-kind materials and match existing material, dimension, and details. The proposed work also includes the removal of a non-original wood and or wrought iron railings, including the porch stoop railings along the south and east elevations, and the existing stair guardrails for the 2-story addition along the south and north elevation. The concrete stoops leading to the original porch are proposed to remain and would be enhanced with concrete pier walls and simple metal guardrails. 2 additional concrete stoops, 1 each along the south and east elevations, are also proposed to remain and would include a new simple metal stair guard railing with a baluster guard railing not wider than 4 inches wide. And the existing stairs leading to the 2nd-story addition, as well as existing 2nd-story walkways, would also include the new simple metal stair guard railings. And all the metal stair guard railings are proposed to be finished in a darker tone to reduce from view, and proposed to be simple in form and styling. And so the following slides show the existing and proposed site plan, which identified the proposed areas of improvement. And you can see that on the screen we have French Street to the right-hand side and 10th Street to the bottom, the 2-story addition towards the back, and the original 1-story structure. And then the next couple of slides show the proposed exterior modifications along all the elevations. Here on the screen we have the existing partial south elevation at the porch. On the screen, we have the proposed south elevation. You can see the wraparound porch, removal of non-original enclosure, the new railings leading up to the 2nd floor. Here we have the proposed east elevation. We have the proposed west elevation. The proposed north elevation. And then on the screen, we have details of the proposed concrete piers and stoop railings with a image provided by the applicant's consultant depicting a inspirational image of what the concrete pier walk could be with the railing as well. The proposed exterior modifications are considered a rehabilitation project, and as such were evaluated against the 10 criteria of the Secretary of Interior standards for treatment of historic properties. Please note that standards 4, 7, and 8 were not applicable to that review. Staff determined that the project complies with the standards. Specifically, the analysis indicates that the proposed exterior alterations and the staircase rehabilitation will be compatible and consistent with the existing architectural elements that reflect the original colonial revival style architecture, while being mindful not to disturb the majority of the historic materials that characterize the property at the primary facade. By removing non-historic alterations, that is the porch enclosure and wood railings, restoring character-defining features, and by proposing simple metal handrails and guardrails that meet current building code, the property will maintain its historic and character-defining features. And as a matter of clarification, Standard 4 is related to changes to a property that have acquired historic significance in their own right. Standard 7 is related to chemical or physical treatments, and Standard 8 is related to archaeology. Planning staff has also provided a more in-depth comparative analysis between the French Park architectural guidelines and the standards. Based on the analysis, staff determined that the proposed treatment for the exterior doors is in conformance with both the guidelines and the standards, as it will be retained and restored to a period-correct style. Moreover, the proposed treatments for the removal of the porch enclosure and the restoration of the character-defining features are in conformance with both guidelines and the standards, as I recommend and prioritize identifying, retaining, repairing, and preservation of those character-defining features. And then lastly, the proposed concrete pier walls and the metal handrail guardrails will be in general conformance with the guidelines and the standards, since they've been determined to be compatible with the historic porch elements, but differentiated in a way not to create a false sense of history. The proposed metal handrails and guardrails will be designed in a simple form and styling and finished in a dark color so that they recede from the view. And the overall simplistic design, along with the use of distinct materials, will ensure that all alterations will be compatible with the historic building. Therefore, staff recommends that the commission adopt the resolution approving a certificate of appropriateness for historic exterior modification application number 2024-03 as conditioned. That concludes staff's presentation. I am available for questions. I also do want to note that the property owner is here, as well as a property owner's consultants that prepared the analysis that was provided for the commission's consideration.
Thank you, Pedro. Does the commission have any questions or comments of staff? Commissioner Christie.
Okay, I need clarification. Okay, when this home was put into the historic French Park Historic District, the Spanish colonial revival architecture had wood, railings, everything. Okay, and apparently, I don't know who had it before or something, but they substituted the wood now for metal, which is not part of a Spanish colonial revival architecture. Do you know when this happened and why you would allow metal instead of wood, since this is a historic district and it's like for like?
Thank you, Commissioner. As a matter of clarification, I think the listed style in the nomination form for the French Park is colonial revival. But what I wanted to clarify was that in staff's research and analysis, we've identified at various stages of development of the historic structure, various different styles and materials of railings. The photo that was submitted as part of the nomination form for French Park possibly identifies the use of both wood and metal. And it also identifies a concrete stoop that shows no railings. So pursuant to the standards that we have to abide by, in the absence of definitive archival photos that show us exactly what the style was, what the material was of original features, we default to what's compatible and consistent. So because staff cannot determine what the true original materials and design and features were of these stoops, or if they've even had railings, we cannot create what's called a false sense of history. In those cases, when an applicant presents a design to us, we review it based on those 10 standards. And we ensure that it is one, the material is compatible with the style, and the design is compatible with the style. And so the analysis that was presented today does that. In staff's opinion, the metal railing as well as the design is done in a way that does not detract from the historic nature of the home, and it's in keeping with the style and does not create a false sense of history. And that's why the recommendation before you is to approve the railings as designed.
Does that include the side rails?
The side
Or is
rails,
that for meeting a standard safety code today?
there's also overlap with building code requirements. So a lot of these original homes were designed in a way that did not meet current building code standards. And that's the spacing between the railings, even the height of the railings, and those are all standards now that are applied as part of the building code. So the ones leading directly to the second story multifamily residential addition would be replaced to meet current standards as well as these as well. The purpose of everything being kind of consistent is the property owner has identified that there's different materials, wood, metal, across the entire site. And so what they've expressed is they'd like to have uniformity across the entire site. So the simple metal design proposed for the concrete stoops would be repeated along the rails and guardrails leading up to the second floor.
But if unpermitted work was done to alter the exterior of a historic building on this, like metal or what, or concrete or something, do we have to acknowledge and accept the unpermitted work? This is where I'm having a hang up here. Because it seems like, you know, we've had Spanish colonial revival architect come from us, I mean, presented in other areas. And it just seems that this project, we're making an exception to me.
If I could clarify, Commissioner, what elements of the structure are you referring to as unpermitted?
Can we go back?
Sure. Oh, give me a second here. Would you like the photo of the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have a sign for the building?
Not of the current condition of the building. We have the plans.
Go back to the rooms.
And what elevation would you like? Would you like the elevation down here on the south?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right there. Okay. That doesn't seem like it fits the original. Somebody just moved it out, in my opinion, okay? And I'm not an architect, okay? Or in this, but it seems like this was added or, you know, that it should be wood. It should not be metal. That's on that would meet that design.
Sure.
Okay, because during, this house was built in what, 19-something?
1898, I
Okay,
believe.
they didn't have metal. They didn't have metal. They had wood during a time for that. Now we have metal, and you're saying that you want to bring this historic property, which is on the National Register, right, back to its original condition. Okay? This, to me, does not match that statement.
Pedro, could I make a comment?
Of course.
Commissioner Christie, just as a point of clarification, and maybe I missed something that you were saying, because my hearing is imperfect. You realize that this house, it's not Spanish colonial revival. That it is not, that's a misnomer. It is not Spanish colonial revival. It is colonial revival, yes, but it's not Spanish colonial, so that's point one. Point two is, remember that even though the main house was built in 1898, that in I think it was 41, they added on in a minimalist traditional style, the units on the back side where they added 4 units. And I think that was designed as, doesn't it have parking underneath? So I think they call that a dingbat or something. But anyway, so this building, which started out in life as a single-family residence in 1942, as a result of the war and the housing shortage, became this architectural abortion that we have today, which is, a minimalist traditional 4-unit building mashed up to the colonial revival house, which was carved up into 3 units. So this is this is a piece of architecture in search of a style. So having said that, I just want to make sure that there's a number of styles going on here, but one of them is not Spanish colonial. So. Well, it isn't. I mean, and remember this property is in the district, but it is not on the register. That's an important clarification. This property is in the district, but it is not on the register. Am I stating that correct, Pedro?
That's correct. It's not on our local
Yeah.
register.
So there,
But it's on the National Register?
It's a contributor to the National Register, but it's not individually
it's
listed
not
as a
individually
national.
listed.
Okay.
So, are there any other commissioners? What was the questions? Commissioner Marashi?
Just a couple of comments. Just a couple of points. And like in 2002, it was going to be put on the Santa Ana Historical Register, but then it was pulled because there were structural issues with it. And so that whole thing was closed out. That's just one point. The other thing is, Google is interesting because you can see photos, and in this case, clear back to 2008. And just a couple of things. When you look at the east side of the house, the main stairway had no railing at all. It was just steps. And then the next to the right of that, they had the metal railing. And if you go around to the other side, it had wood spindles on the left, going up to the second floor, and it had metal for the middle stairway, and it had wood for the next. And it's changed because in 2014, when you look at the east side, they used wood spindles that don't match the upper spindles near the roof line, but it's a different style of spindle, wood spindle, and so they all tried to match. And on the south side, they brought those in except for the metal railing. So even over the few years from 2008 to now, it's had quite a few changes. So I get that it's a hard thing to decide what was it originally. And probably because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Pedro, but if you knew for absolute certain that the stairway had no railing, I don't think you could go back and implement that, could you? Because of the ADA rules and other code issues.
That's correct. The building code has a minimum height
Right,
requirement.
so we're trying to find a suitable solution here to get this home back looking the way it used to. I mean, in 2008, it looked beautiful in some of the photos. It's kind of sad the way it looks today, so I applaud the effort to try to bring this back historically. Thank you.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes, thank you, Chair Rush. I have a question for Pedro. I believe you said that somewhere there was a description of metal and wood materials for the railing. and that there was a description of piers, and there were no images for that. Was that in the, is that what you said? And was that in the survey that you found that information?
To clarify, Commissioner, the image used for the National Register, and as Vice Chair Marashi, pointed out, even some of the images in Google show during various years, various styles and different combinations of staircases. So in the photo for 2008, for example, it shows one stoop with no railings. It shows another stoop with wood railings, another staircase with metal railings. And that sort of theme is repeated throughout the history of this home, unfortunately. That alterations have been done. And so the photo that I'm referring to in the National Register nomination form is just that. It shows a combination of different materials. Now, the image that I used on the screen today in the presentation as an example of a concrete pier and metal railings is an image used by architect Robert Imboden, who provided an analysis of the work that was being proposed by the property owner. And that analysis was included as part of the commission's agenda for consideration.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of staff by commissioners? Commissioner,
It's okay, that's good, Mia, yeah.
what's that?
Oh, no, sorry, I thought you were looking for my last name.
No. Commissioner Escamilla,
Thank you.
do you have a comment?
Yeah. So, Pedro, do we know if any of the like railings are original at all? Like, I guess, can we state that, you know, there is, if there is anything original on any of the railings, I guess is generally the question I'm at.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think the best exhibit that maybe could help with this conversation is Exhibit 3, which I believe is his existing site photos. I don't have that on the screen today, but it is part of the Commissioner's packet and agenda. And that shows the existing condition of all the railings, mostly of the property. I cannot say with 100% certainty that any of those are original. Certainly, the ones leading to the second story addition possibly could be 40s, 50s, but given the history of alterations, I highly doubt it. What we can say for sure is that the balustrades as part of the porch certainly seem like they were original. Moreover, an assessment of the existing porch stoop shows that really there is no point of connection for like a wood railing system. So it leads us to believe that there possibly could be a design where there weren't original railings to begin with. And certainly not in 1890s where they have been the design that's on the screen now.
And I guess, now, do we know, was this a custom home, a kit home, or like based on any other design to find other kind of similar styles, or we're pretty much in the dark at this point?
That information is, we don't have that information, unfortunately, at least I'm not aware of that. There could be additional information in the nomination form that provides that information, but I'm not aware of that.
And then I guess I have a general question, I guess procedurally. What role, if any, does the French Park Architectural Review Committee have when it comes to projects within this district?
So properties in SD 19, specific development 19, if there are alterations happening to the outside of the home, such as this, have to go through a process called neighborhood review. And that neighborhood review application is submitted to the French Park Architectural Review Committee, made up of members of the neighborhood. And they review the plans, photos, and scope of work to ensure consistency with the adopted French Park architectural guidelines. So French Park, as part of the adoption of the SD 19 ordinance, the zoning district also included guidelines that essentially help navigate infill development additions and sets standards for certain architectural types that are prominent in French Park. That document, I believe, to more or less mirror the standards. Those are the Secretary of Interior standards that the National Park Service has outlined. So I believe they're fairly consistent. There are some differences. And the analysis comparing the guidelines and the standards are also provided as part of the packet to the commission for their consideration. And I believe that might be maybe Exhibit 10, or excuse me, Exhibit 11.
Okay, and would an accurate summary, and correct me where I'm wrong, as I will be wrong, accurate summary of kind of what we have before us right now is staff and the project consultant are essentially saying that the metal railings would be appropriate for this particular exterior modification, but that the French Park Neighborhood Review Committee letter is indicating that they would prefer a different material for those railings, specifically simple wood railings to match all the way around the exterior of the building.
That's a correct understanding. As part of the neighborhood review process, the applicant went through several cycles of submitting the application to the committee. As outlined in that table, the committee and the applicant and the city were able to agree on all but the railing design, really, and the materials. So the French Park Committee was not agreeable to the materials of wrought iron or the design, and then more in line with providing a wood design that closely matched maybe possibly what was original there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments by commissioners or questions?
I just have a comment.
Commissioner Padilla?
I was reviewing the public comments that we just received today. And there's the Historic Resources Commission, the Architectural Review Committee did send us some comments, and it seems that that is the continuous problem, like not using the wood instead of the metal have. Is there any ways that the owners or the ones that want to do the repairs will want to use the wood instead of the metals, or is there conversations with them with this?
Thank you, Commissioner. This process actually has been, at this point, a multi-year process where the property owner had provided several plans for consideration for the committee. At this point, the property owner has made it known that they're not interested in providing wood. And that's kind of where the disagreement is between the French Park Committee and then the property owner. At some point, staff needed to move the project forward for consideration by the commission, and that's where we're at now. That position that the French Park Architectural Committee has provided the letters, that's consistent with those neighborhood review letters that we've received in the past, where they're not agreeable to the use of wrought iron, and they don't believe it's appropriate or compatible.
I don't have any more comments.
Okay. Manny?
And I don't know if it's like a question or just comments, but I guess I'm still feeling like maybe there is more information that we need. So like, this is where I tend to defer to the folks that have been looking at it a little bit closer. So I'll probably want more time with this particular item, but I think we still have more questions for the applicant and for public comment.
Well, we have yet to hear from the applicant, of
Yeah,
course,
so,
or their
but
consultant. Okay, so there's no other comments from commissioners. At this time, the public hearing is now open. Does the commission have any comments or questions of the applicant? So, Carlos, perhaps you and your consultants would like to come forward.
Thank you, Chairman Rush and Commissioners. Appreciate you guys' time today. Wow, this has been a project. We've been working on it. We purchased the home, just so you know, probably about 2 years ago now, something like that. And there was numerous code enforcement issues that unfortunately we inherited, and that's what happens. The sellers were not quite honest.
I really can't hear any of you people, and Jeff is having trouble too. Is there a way that we can, I mean, we can't comment if we can't hear what you guys are saying?
Well, one thing I do that I know that needs to happen is that at least us commissioners and Carlos, you too, everyone needs to get within, a couple inches of the microphone, because you can't hear.
Can everyone hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay.
You can hear me? Me, Tim? Okay, well, it's because I'm speaking almost literally right to the microphone. So I'd encourage everyone to get as close to the microphone as possible. So.
Okay.
Think of it as an ice cream cone that you cannot consume.
All right, that's an image I'll hold in my head. Thank you again. You can hear me, right, Sandy? I'm good? Okay. As I said, we purchased the property. As a longtime resident of the city, I've always been a historic preservation person. I sat on Historic Preservation Commission for, I don't know, 6, 7 years. And when I was a little kid, I remember riding by this house and always looking at that porch and thinking, that can't be original. The pilasters don't line up, all this stuff. Subsequent to buying the property and inheriting all the code enforcement, and the city's been very helpful. Thank you guys for working with us with the code enforcement. I guess the previous owner changed the rails again, didn't pull permits, and that's something that we're dealing with. But this home was built as a single-family residence. And the doors that you see on this front facade didn't exist. There was no stoop there. That was a picture window and a parlor. The other side, if you could show me the other elevation, Pedro, that one. Go back one, yeah. The door in the middle there did not exist either. If you see those 3 windows, they used to be 3 full windows. That was another parlor or something like that. Remember, this was a grand single-family residence. None of those porches existed. None of those doors existed. We were fortunate that in the basement, we found what I figured were period-correct doors, and we reinstalled 2 of them. The third one was gone. I've already had it milled at quite an expense, so it's ready to be installed as soon as the commission lets us, or the city allows us. So there are currently 6 different types of railings on this house. And unfortunately, back in 1941, when they added the other house and they split it, we didn't, obviously there was no permitting process, they just did it. It was a function of the times, 2 completely different styles. So what we're trying to do in Urban Living Properties is we're trying to make it more homogeneous, to kind of tie it together. And one of the ways to tie this building together is all having the same railings. And we'd be speaking differently if this was a single-family residence, but this is an apartment complex. And if you go by, I know the commissioners went by, I'm sure you saw a lot of the railings busted because the kids play on them, and the residents' kids play on them, and they're not going to last. The ones that they're there now, they're all probably like 6 or 7 of the railings are broken. When we found out that none of those were original, we said, okay, what can we do? One, to tie this property together to make it look a lot better, because the poor gal has been mistreated. Bad remodel after bad remodel after bad remodel. And, we're a hold and keep company. We're not flippers. We're not looking to make a quick buck. We really want to make an investment. And we think that we can not leave it, it's impossible to put it back to original, but we can leave it better than we found it. And after all, we're just kind of caretakers of these properties. And at great expense, the 3 units in the front have been empty for more than a year. No income is coming in because we have to do this the right way. And the right way is standing in front of you, good people, and asking for permission to bring back the porch. The porch, everyone agrees, was enclosed sometime, I think, in the 70s, based on some architectural archaeology. The porch, as someone asked, what is original? The porch is original, and the railings and the balustrades on the porch are original, and we will restore those. We already have a carpenter that already made samples. So we're trying to do this to make this property look as good as possible, tie it all together, but also, and just as important, to make it last. Because those railings aren't going to last if they're wood. One, we don't want to create, like they said many times, a false sense of history. We don't know what was there. But we do know that in colonial times even, there was metal railings. This was built in 1898. Back in the 1700s, back in the 1600s, there were metal railings, wrought iron railings. So in order to not compete with the house, in order to have the railings just kind of blend in, that was a simple solution that we wanted to do. And I didn't want this to be just my opinion, and I'll have you speak to my consultant, Mr. Imboden, who's an expert in the area. He's an architect, and this is what he does for a living. That's why I hired him, to make sure that this is the right thing to do. And with that, I will yield my time to him. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. And to follow on with what has been stated already, I think one thing that should be very, very clear, as Carlos has said, that there's been discussion about, well, what would have been here originally or what was here originally. So much of what we're seeing here is not original to this home. 3 of the 4 doors at the south and east facades that we're talking about, 2 of those 3 didn't exist. So the property today has a very different appearance at the street than what it originally would have as a single-family residence. The large stairway that spans along the south side of the house goes up to this mid-century addition that occurred to the property. I was searching there for a style. It really doesn't have a style. It's just a very simple vernacular mid-century design. I'll be honest, when the owner first contacted me and was asking about metal railings for this house, I kind of scratched my head a little bit before I saw it. And then once I saw it and realized the variety of railings that are on there now, the stoops that are there that are not original, the doors that are there that are not original, what's the right, we have to go somewhere because the existing railings are non-existent or failing. So we have to move forward somehow. So what is the way to do that? From my experience with these late Victorian cottages, most often there were pier walls on the sides of the steps. That was more predominant than not. And typically there were no railings with those pier walls, especially an elevation change of this amount. We don't see railings at all. We also, when I walked the property, we could not really find evidence of where railings did exist, historic railings did exist, in terms of being attached to the original features that still survive. So we don't really know what was there, but I'm not convinced that there would have been railings. So again, where do we go forward? So what I've recommended to the applicant was to build pier walls to differentiate the historic porch from the rest of these later stoops and stairways and so forth, that would be compatible with the era, compatible with the style, yet differentiated. Then the stair railings, to keep those as absolutely minimal as possible so that they don't become, so that the new doesn't become the predominant element of the historic facade once the project is completed. And then with the remaining stoops, again, to try to take an approach of minimalist functionalism, I guess, that we need to meet because this is a multifamily property, we do have a higher sensitivity toward the safety, the building codes, which requires 42-inch rails, which are of course higher than anything we would have seen in the Victorian times too. So as I looked this over, and now I can't really comment to the comments that you've received today from the French Park Review Committee because we've not seen those, but in reviewing the past ones, I certainly understand the interest in potentially seeing wooden railings that would match the Victorian home. However, I think it's really important to keep in mind that the stoops that are there are not original. They did not exist during the Victorian era. The large stairway on the south side of the building did not exist during this time. And to add all of this matching railing absolutely would change the character of the house and take it into a place that it never existed in time. It would be a house of a tremendous amount of Victorian railing, and I think that that would absolutely take away from the historic character of the house rather than maintain the historic character. I agree with staff's assessment that the proposed design conforms to both the French Park Design Guidelines as well as the Secretary of Interior standards. We may have difference of opinion on something, but it's always important in my work that I look to the standards in terms of justification for whether something should move forward or not, whether it complies with the standards. And I can safely state that in this case, I think that it does. Other than the railings, the project, as the applicant has said, they've gone to great lengths to mill custom door to match the period doors, removal of the enclosure, which we know to be of a later date because as it's removed, we can see within the balustrade the ghosting of the original balusters, the elements of both the railing and the spandrels, any of those that are deteriorated, they are replacing those like for like. So what we know to be true, the applicant is more than happy to restore it and restore it properly. What we don't know, this is where we kind of have to bridge somewhere between moving forward and what the standards lead us to do. So I think with that, I'll let you continue your discussion. Certainly, if you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer those for you.
Okay. Are there any other questions by the commissioners of the applicant or the consultants, et cetera? Okay. None? Commissioner Marashi?
I guess I have one question. So we're talking railings on all of them except the one in the front where we're putting the concrete sides, and then metal railings on those, correct?
So Robert, why don't you come back to the,
I'm sorry, could you restate that?
You're putting metal railings on all the stoops except for the very front, which it's going to have the concrete side barriers and then railings on them.
So the proposal is where the original porch exists, both of those stoops would have the pier
Right.
sides on the stoops and just the railing
Right.
with no balusters at all. Metal.
So what I really appreciate is the fact that you're like, we don't know what was originally there. So we want to downplay whatever's there so you know it's not original. We're not trying to put in some structure. And that's what the concrete side piers kind of bother me a little, in that they are massive with the railing and it's right in the front. And so somebody may get the impression that is original to the house. That's my only concern. How would you address that?
Well, again, I think if we go back to that image, the subtlety to me, it's not going to jump out at anyone. This differentiation is always a balancing act, right? Of not presenting something that is jarring, that takes away from the historic character of the property, but that is differentiated enough that upon further, review, consideration, or at least by someone knowledgeable, this example here I thought was a very good example of a colonial revival home with wing walls, with very simple rails that simply serve their function and stop, don't go any further than that. So I think in this case that this speaks to the past, honors what may or may not have been there, we don't know, but certainly was common with this type of home, and then with the very simple railing to simply serve the function and do no more. Try to add no more character in those than possible.
Okay.
That's the approach.
Great.
And then the other railings would be of the other type, all consistent throughout.
All right. All right, thank you.
any other, Manny, Commissioner Escamilla?
Sorry, just one more for you. I guess, was there any consideration at this point just to leave that particular, stairwell or stairway alone? I know that there's kind of this idea to match everything, but right now it almost seems like we don't know what we don't know. There's an existing, set of rails there. The general consensus seems to be that it wasn't original, but we don't know exactly when it came in. So at this point, I almost feel as though the railings themselves, even if not original, now have kind of contributed to the history and story of this particular home. So was there any thought to leaving this particular section in place and then just changing everything else to metal railings?
Well, I think from the owner's perspective, they don't meet the building code. This is a multifamily property. That's obviously a consideration for them. From my perspective, as coming from a preservation direction,
Speak into the microphone.
the railings that are there did not exist during the period of significance. So they are no more historic than what's being proposed. So if we're searching for value in them, They don't necessarily provide that because they're not matching in kind what's there. We know them to not be original, and like I say, more than likely, they probably didn't exist at all, the railings, the wooden railings.
Right, but we don't really, so it's not during the period of significance, but would you have an estimate as to when they were likely installed, or at least what period they do reflect?
Sometime since Home Depot came into Orange County
Got it.
is what they look like.
Yeah, they look like the Home Depot.
Yeah.
Interior.
Okay, so we know it's like at least pre-2008, but post-1970.
But they don't meet building code anyway. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Commissioner Padilla?
I mean, I'm new in the commission. Today is my first meeting, but I do appreciate everything that you want to do. And I do feel like they have a business going on right now and they haven't been able to rent some of the units because of this specific issue. It will be good to come to an agreement today so they can move forward with that. I do take into consideration being hurting like their business because these are not properly installed. And yeah, that was my only comment.
All right, any other? Commissioner Haragi?
Just a comment, because it's on a corner, it's going to be visible. I wish you the very best and to make it come together, because it is a hodgepodge. When I drove by, I was trying to think of my history, and I go, what do we have in the front? Something Victorian, and then this side something else, and then the back. It's like, oh, I'm walking through history here, but it's still a hodgepodge because it just feels like it's slapped upon. So thank you for the efforts. I do understand the financial strains of not having an asset not producing income. I'm very aware of that. And then once you finish the landscape, to keep it in period, and with French Park, that's gorgeous. I had not driven through the whole of French Park, and I apologize. You have some stunning homes in the back, because you're at a key point right by the park, and I hope to see that be a shining star in the neighborhood.
Thank you for your comments. And I agree 100% because to me, the landscaping is the frame of the art being the structure. And we did submit a landscaping plan, and part of the approval today will be part of the landscaping plan.
Commissioners? Nothing else? Okay. All right, you two can sit down. Well, I think the Yiddish call this a mishmash. You know, all this architecture getting mashed together. So we're trying to make chicken salad out of, well, I can't say it here, but something else. Yeah. Anyway, Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication, or is there a member of the public or French Park Architecture Review Committee that would like to address us?
We have received public comment that has been distributed to the commission and posted on the website. We also have 3 speakers that are here that would like to speak.
Okay. All right. Okay, first we have William Bobo, who is an architect and a resident.
Hello, Commission. Thank you again for your time. As Tim just said, I'm an architect and a resident of French Park. I live at 1003 Spurgeon Street, and actually just around the corner from this property. So when I saw that Urban Living was going to restore and renovate, I was very, very curious of what they plan to do, and did some research on Colonial Revival, and did find out that what he's planning on doing by milling the pieces that are missing, doing the new doors, was very appropriate. And I've seen the work that this group has done in French Park, and they do real high quality work. So I have no doubt that they'll make this Queen of French Park shine again. I did do more research on the use of wrought iron railing during the Colonial Revival period, and in a packet that I provided shows a lot of photographs of that period and the use of the wrought iron railing. It's quite prevalent during that period, as well as in French Park itself. There's several residents that do use wrought iron railing, so the use of it in this project would blend in nicely with the rest of the French Park area. I ask that you do approve the submittal as submitted. I think a lot of time has passed, and I'm very anxious to see it bring back to some life on our corner there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bobo. Next, we have Jeffrey Dickman.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Dickman. I reside in the historic French Park neighborhood.
Speak into the microphone.
Sandy Welch and I prepared the comments that you have, and I'd like to just make a couple of just observations which pertain to our comments. Although the wood is delicate on the porch, and Carlos is right that some of the wood is damaged and children do those things, the original porch baluster and rail is still there. It's not destroyed. It's been there for 100+ years, despite numerous families and maybe hundreds of different tenants. So the original construction is still there right before us. So that was our guide to make a recommendation that we follow that original baluster rail work for any other sort of railing on the staircases to have sort of a continuity, because that is original. That wood is there. That was there when the property was built. So if the recommendation is metal, why wouldn't it be wood? You could have a simple rail. Let's say if you dislike our suggestion to have the railing match the original baluster on the porch, why not make that wood instead of metal? So that's one point. Well, actually, that's also a couple of points. Sandy and I and others have been on the review committee for decades. 25 years for me. We have never had a request for metal railing. The metal railing, the railing projects that we've looked at have always been wood. Nothing has been metal. And we've never approved anything in 25 years that is metal. If there is metal railing, as I said in our comments, it's probably illegal that somebody just did, or the city approved it and we didn't know about it. I would suggest it's an either or. It's kind of a preference. Our preference is wood. However, whether it's detailed that follows the design of the original baluster, which is still there, it's not gone, or something more simple like a wood, just something that we could find and work together on. The committee would like to work with the applicant and you to come up with a design that is simple, that is wood, that reflects how that structure was built. You can design an attractive wood railing, whatever the city thinks is necessary for safety purposes, we can work together on that, and that would be my recommendation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Next is Sandy Welch.
Hi, I'm Sandy Welch. I live in the neighborhood actually across from this property, and I'm on the committee with Jeff. And we have reviewed tons of homes in French Park. Someone made a very good comment when they're talking about having the porch be consistent as one unit. And that's the way that I see it. The applicant is saying that they're making all of these wood elements to match the missing parts of the porch. Well, the stair rails are a missing part too, and they're going to the expense to make all of these detailed brackets and spindles and railings so that they can bring that curved porch all the way around the home. And we were excited about that until they said they were not going to carry that through down the stairs on the porch. I understand trying to make this look unified, but it's actually way two different architectural styles. And what fits the back unit doesn't necessarily fit the front unit. And so I think it can still look great with two different things going on. One consistent with the apartment building and one consistent with the wood house. As far as the maintenance of it, the reason those spindles are knocked out is because that house has been vacant, and he's right, kids have popped those spindles out. They're not what should have been there. They're trying to be what was there, but granted, I'm sure they probably were bought at Home Depot and made do. But the property is on a prominent corner in our neighborhood. It's facing the park. All of the larger houses are in a row right down the street from it. It's the fifth one in the row, and then there are some other large houses north of it. To put the wrought iron railings on it is adding something that is just, to me, making it look more like a fire escape than it is a house. And granted, they might be very nice, but there's a whole lot of them. And from my perspective, I would like to see the front porch, and it is a Victorian-style takeoff, as one continuous unit with the stairs as part of that unit. And it would be a highlight in our neighborhood right on the corner. It's the only feature left on that house, on that property, and I would really like to see it stay as one unified porch. The piers that they're suggesting, put that out there, are just some cement blocks that are just sitting alongside the steps. I mean, I don't see that as adding much other than you can't fall off the side of the step. So in my opinion, I did submit some photographs of what Victorian porches look like.
Your time's
Granted, they're a
up.
little bit more
Excuse me, your time's up.
decorative.
Your 3 minutes are up.
Pardon me?
Your 3 minutes are up. Your 3 minutes to speak are up.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for your comments.
So that is my opinion on it, to keep it historic and try to make each building look the best it can with its own particular style.
Okay, thank you, Sandy, and thank you to all of our speakers. This has been a very, very complicated endeavor, no doubt. So, okay, so the public comment that we've received, the written information provided by the French Park Architectural Review Committee and so forth, that has been
Sorry,
distributed
Chair,
to each of you.
quick
Yes,
question.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Were there 3 speakers or only 2?
There was a total of 3 speakers. Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay.
We had William Bovo,
Thank
Jeff
you,
Hickman,
yeah.
and Sandy Welch. Although technically, William was also involved initially doing some of the drawings on this project, but anyway, so, okay. Do we have anyone else that wishes to speak from the public on this? Do we have any other communication, Madam Secretary? Anyone online?
Before that, I'm going to distribute some packets that were brought in by the applicant.
Okay. So I'll wait to close the public hearing then, all right? Yes, Carlos, come on back up.
Thank you for additional time. Just a point of clarification. I took these photos all these photos are within 2 blocks of the subject property. And I did some research. None of these properties have active code enforcement cases, so they were done a long time ago, they're original, or they were grandfathered in. So I wanted to show, these are just 15 examples. I found like 30 in all of French Park, but just a point of clarification, there is a lot of wrought iron in the neighborhood. And a point of clarification with the railings, the reason the existing railing on the porch has survived is because it's very short, very strong structurally. A railing going up the stairs is twice the size of that, and it's constantly being pulled. So when you're going up the stairs, when you're going towards the staircase, you grab it and you pull it, and that's why it fails. The porch railing is very short, and it's circular. The circular porch gives it additional structural strength. I'm not an architect, but I do know a little bit about physics. When you have a radius versus a straight line, it's going to be a lot stronger. Think of a concept of an archway. That carries a lot of load. So that's why the existing rail has probably survived over 100 years, because it's very, very short, and it's not the length of what we would have to comply with as a legal railing going up some stairs. And that packet is just so you guys can see all the different railings. Some of them are very good quality, some of them are not very good quality, but there are no active code enforcement cases on any of these properties in French Park currently. And that's just 15 examples. I didn't want to bore you with the additional 15, but I found about 30 of them. And if I went all the way out to a couple blocks more, there's a lot more examples. Just a point of clarification. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other one who wishes to speak, or any reason I shouldn't close the public hearing?
We do not have any more speakers on Zoom.
Okay, very good. All right, this time, public hearing is now closed. All right. Is there a motion to approve this matter and a second? Hannah?
I will be motioning to approve the matter.
Beg your pardon?
My motion will be to approve the recommendation to
Okay.
adopt a resolution to approving the certificate of for the historic exterior modification application number 2024-03 and condition.
All right, do we have a second? Commissioner Hargy has seconded the motion. Madam Secretary, you want to call the roll?
Commissioner Christie?
This is hard. This is so difficult. Okay, move forward. Yes.
Commissioner Escamilla?
No.
Commissioner Hardy?
No.
Commissioner Jauregui?
Yes.
Commissioner Padilla?
Yes.
Commissioner Rincon?
Yes.
Commissioner Ship?
Yes.
Vice Chair Marashi?
Yes.
Chair Rush?
Yes.
Motion approved by majority
All right.
vote with Commissioner Escamilla and Commissioner Jauregui Hardy dissenting.
Okay. All right, okay. That was a difficult vote. I can tell you, looking at these photographs, it is obvious that there are an awful lot of different types of railings in French Park. I do think it's something that maybe needs to be a study session or something for us to look at, because clearly in my own opinion, the railings that are more aesthetically appealing are the ones that don't have all these vertical components to them. And when you're talking about an incline that is 2 feet or less, you don't need to have that.
I apologize for disrupting, but the decision on the matter has been made. Your comments, I would recommend that you provide them during the commissioner's comments.
All right.
As the item has been acted on.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. The first item up for discussion is the election of officers for the 2024-2025 term. We will now accept nominations for chair. Commissioner Hardy?
I'd like to nominate Tim Rush for chair for the upcoming term. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Ed Marashi for chair.
All right. Okay. Are there any other nominations? So, Madam Secretary, do we vote on these in the order that they were nominated, or how do we do that?
Yes, the first motion was for Chair Rush. You have to accept the vote or the motion, and then we can vote on that.
I'll accept it.
Okay, so I'll call roll for that, for Chair Rush to remain as chair. Commissioner Christie?
No.
Commissioner Escamilla?
No.
Commissioner Hardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Jauregui,
Yes.
Commissioner Padilla,
Yes.
Commissioner Rincon,
Yes.
Commissioner Ship,
Yes.
Vice Chair Marashi,
No.
Chair Rush.
Yes.
Motion approved by majority vote.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. I guess that concludes our administrative matters.
No,
Thank you.
we need one for
have Vice
Vice
Chair.
Chair.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. All right. So for vice chair, so do we have any nominations for vice chair?
I would like to nominate Manny.
I'd like to politely decline on account of always being 5 to 10 minutes late to every meeting.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, though.
All right. Do we have any other nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Ed.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I accept.
All right, any other nominations? Okay, close the nominations. Do we do again a roll call?
Yes.
All right, all right.
Commissioner Christie,
Yes?
Commissioner Escamilla,
Yes.
Commissioner Hardy,
Yes.
Commissioner Jauregui,
Yes.
Commissioner Padilla,
Yes.
Commissioner Rincon,
Yes.
Commissioner Ship,
Yes.
Vice Chair Marashi,
Yes.
Chair Rush.
Yes,
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
all right. Congratulations, Ed, and thank you all for my votes as well. All right, so this concludes our administrative matters. Moving on to staff comments. Next, I'll ask our planning manager, Ali Pazeshkapour, to provide us with some updates on Historic Preservation Awards nominations for 2024. And also, Ali has an introduction to us of a new staff consultant. Ali won't steal his thunder to say who it is. Ali?
Thanks, Chair, and good evening, Commissioners. Just want to bring to your attention, we worked very hard this year to bring back the Historic Preservation Awards nominations. So far, we have not received any nominations, so we are distributing a printed flyer that you can share with your colleagues or enthusiasts in the historic preservation community. If you would like extra copies or to have this emailed to you as a PDF, you can also find it online, but please let us know. The deadline to nominate is August 9th, so that's about a month away. And we are really looking forward to receiving nominations from the community. If you have any questions about this, please contact our historic preservationists. Again, Senior Planner Pedro Gomez, our staff consultant, whom I'll introduce shortly, and myself. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. But please get the word out. We're relying on your assistance and your relationships with those who share your interests in this field. So thank you.
But a quick question, can we actually just get a list of everything that's eligible? Because there is probably a list of all, it was on, yeah. There is like a list, right, of all the projects that are eligible at this point, like from 2018 to present?
Thank you, Commissioner. I think we can put something like that together. There's not many that have been gone through the exterior alterations that would qualify, but I'm certainly sure that we can put something together for you.
Okay. That concludes your report?
That's it for that item, and then I would like to take a moment to introduce our colleague, James Williams. He is, James, if you want to stand up, thank you. Mr. Williams is an architectural historian, joined us a few weeks ago, and he has 7 years of professional experience completing his undergraduate and graduate studies at Sacramento State. He's a Bachelor of Arts in American History and a Master of Arts in Public History. His academic focus was on the intersection of housing, urban redevelopment, and historic preservation in American cities in the mid-20th century. He's also worked as an architectural historian for a number of consulting firms and environmental consulting firms in Northern and Southern California. He's helped private and local government clients navigate the requirements of the National Historic Preservation Act, CEQA, and various local regulations. He also meets the Secretary of Interior's professional qualifications standards in the areas of history and historic preservation. So he'll be helping us out with a lot of our historic preservation projects and endeavors under the auspices of Pedro and myself. And if you ever have any questions, he has an email and phone number just like the rest of us. But we encourage you to utilize his services as much as we will. So if you have any questions, just contact Nuvia or myself. We can always channel any requests for information, all that to him. Thanks, James.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Yes,
You want to hear
Commissioner.
a funny story? For the past 2 weeks, my maiden name is Williams, okay? I've ran into 19 now Williams from all over the United States. I don't know what it is. I thought we just had a small family name and so forth, but from Florida, Midwest and so forth, Arizona, but I don't know what it is. I'm running into Williams all over. I found out it was a prominent name, but welcome.
All right, very good. Okay, now time for commissioner comment, or actually, before I go there, we have with us our Executive Director of Planning and Building, which we've missed you for many months, and so I want to give you an opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say congratulations to you and the Vice Chair for the nomination and election. Look forward to working with you the next year.
Yes, ditto. Okay, so we'll move on to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Shipp to my far left.
Congratulations to both of you guys. Glad to see you back. I'm glad to be back. I was out the last meeting, and I hope everyone had a happy 4th of July and all that good stuff, and ready for the next meeting.
Oh, Commissioner Rincon?
No comment.
Commissioner Padilla?
No, just welcome, and thank you everyone for this meeting. It's my first meeting, so I'm very excited to be part of this commission. That's all. And congratulations, Chair and Vice Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair Marashi?
I just want to welcome our new commissioner, Mr. Padilla, and also James. Welcome to the city. Wanted to put out one recommendation to the city, and that is, I've had a lot of questions about replacing shake wood roofs. And so what I would request is a position paper on replacements, just like we have a position paper on solar panels. I think that would help people that are coming to me with questions about shake. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Christie?
Well, I want to welcome Commissioner Padilla, and congratulations, Vice Chair and Chair again. Great meeting. I mean, we have never had such in-depth conversations for a long period of time on this, but I don't know about you guys, but I learn something every time we meet. But thank you so much for the reports and everything, and taking our questions, because, I mean, it was a little confusing and dedicated. And thank you for all. Welcome, Executive Director Men, and so forth. And Kylie, our attorney. Everybody, this is Kylie here, okay? Nielsen, you know, attorneys get a bad job, you know, nobody recognizes them, but we welcome you. We're the friendly committee, you know. You're welcome.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I guess first off, yeah, to the new members, welcome. Padilla, I have to look this way in order to speak into the mic and say welcome to our newest members, as well as to the Chair and Vice Chair. So I guess one suggestion is if we can get slightly longer microphones, that would be of assistance to me, so I can turn around a little bit more. Yeah, just slightly longer cords would be appropriate, but it is an old setup up here. I did have an actual item of substance. So now that we kind of have the new procedures in place for adding items to the agenda, I would like to actually make a formal request that we do take a new item under consideration here at the Historic Commission, and that being to basically look to recommend to the city council to add the Emilio Vasquez murals to the local set of historic resources. So I know that we haven't actively pursued any kind of addition to the historic register from our dais position up here, but I do believe that we should take that under consideration. I know we have to have a bit more of a formal vote, so I don't know at this point whether or not we have to get buy-in from at least 3 members up here or a certain number, or if that's just an item that we would bring up at the next meeting. But I do believe that the 5 Emilio Vasquez murals that we do have located in the city warrant historic designation, and that it should be an item brought before the Historic Commission.
Okay, Commissioner Hardy?
Yes, I just want to say that I continue to be pleased that the Historic Preservation Awards are back again, even though we haven't had any submissions. Hopefully that will change. I want to welcome our new council member and our newest council members. Oh, sorry, commissioners. And Mr. Williams. And congratulate our new chair and vice chair. And with that, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hargy?
Same thing, congratulations to both our chair and vice chair. Also, welcome to Ms. Padilla and Ms. Rincon. I had not seen them, and hello, Manny, and hello, Ty, long time, no see. I do have a question. A while back, we had some apartments where they were working on the windows, and we had requested that they change. There was 2/2, it's a mid-century. It's right down the street from the French one. It starts with I can't remember the name of the street, it starts with W. It's also apartments.
Oh,
Wellington, on Wellington, and they still have not changed the window. There's a pane over 1/1 and 2/2, side by side, right on the front. So just an attention, because I drove by the whole neighborhood to look at it. And it's right at the front door, and it's like, it was very obvious that was not changed. Freshly painted, though. The house looks much nicer, the property looks much nicer, but the window panes, and I know that maybe there could be a list of resources of who makes these windows. I know that at the Floral Park, we have several vendors who do wood windows, because it would be nice to have them redone. Again, thank you for all the support and knowledge, and to understand to all the education we get, because that helps us to support our community better and to preserve our buildings. That I have a passion about preserving our historic buildings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, commissioners, for your comments. I too want to welcome our newest commissioner, Ana Laura Padilla. So welcome, and thank you all for your votes to make me your chair for another year. Congratulations to the miscellaneous property owners that we assisted today. They're all gone, but tonight's meeting is an example of compromise. Everybody went away unhappy. So, it involved give and take on both sides. So I was very much conflicted by the vote there at 1002 North French. That building is as I said before, it's a mishmash. And so it's very difficult to come up with something that is a perfect solution. But, these photographs here, absolutely, that's the proof's in that pudding. We need to have a study session or something with staff to address this issue. Because as you drive around, and I'm sure it's an issue in Henniger Park, and that is that this compulsion that planning and building has to demand that every single person have handrail that also includes all these crazy vertical embellishments. It's inappropriate, and it's not mandatory. I've had several conversations with preservation architects, and they say, nope, that's not a requirement. I go to church at St. John's Lutheran on Sundays. They went through this massive remodel. They put up handrails. There are handrails only, no verticals, none. Why? Well, because it's 2 feet or less to where the ground for grade is. So, but here in Santa Ana, we demand that everybody has to have all these verticals. And I think we need, and it's taking away aesthetically from our historic neighborhoods. So I really think that is something, today's exercise illustrates that issue. So there needs to be some study on that so there isn't all of this misinformation floating around. The other comment I wanted to make was welcome, of course, to James Williams, our consultant. And I am hopeful that maybe at an upcoming meeting, or maybe you'll send us a memorandum with the highlights from the California Preservation Foundation meeting, which I know staff attended, and we never heard a peep about what went on there. So I'd like to know what were the highlights. I think we all would, as to what went on there. Another couple of items, just FYI. I don't know how many of you know that we have a destination marketing organization for Santa Ana, and they were instrumental in getting Peter Greenberg, who is a CBS radio, and I guess he has a TV program on PBS. So he's an entertainment personality specializing in the travel space. And he came to Santa Ana and interviewed 5 of us. I was one of the people that was interviewed, and he put together an hour-plus show about Santa Ana. And the first segment deals with its history and architecture and so forth. The rest of it, there was a curator from Bowers. There was a Hawk Scott from Parks and Rec. There was the gentleman that owns and operates the Frida Art Theater, and a couple of other folks. But anyway, you can Google that, look it up. You can find the one, it was just about 3 weeks ago that the one on Santa Ana was broadcast. You can click on that and listen away. So it's really fun. Also just wanted to give encouragement to staff to anything I can do to assist with regard to this conversation we're having about adding teeth to our ordinances regarding vacant buildings. And we all know that vacant buildings are a friend to arsonists, and we have a number of historic buildings that I just pray to God do not get torched before they're repurposed. So it is a real problem. And so I know that we're all on the same page, but anything we can do to lobby council or whatever to improve those ordinances, I think is something we need to advocate for. On that happy note, we stand in adjournment until our next meeting, which is Thursday, September the 5th at 4:30